Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Challenge Cup match. Today, we've got TDG, also known as the Daddy Gamers, and Iceman F1 in a Group Q matchup today. My name is Dane8373. I'm joined by Scoopula on the mics. How you doing today, Scoopula?
Well, we're doing all right. 9 o'clock. Good time for a match. Good channel for a match. Happy to be on Good Mode Podcast again. It's been a long time, but it's what I call the best channel in Rando. It's also known as the one Dana and I are on. So
yeah. So today we've got Map Compass Boss Shuffle. Scoopula, you want to give these guys a rundown on what to expect today?
Yeah. So I personally haven't seen this run in the Tournament or Challenge Cup yet, but essentially, each map and compass is going to be shuffled in the general item pool, which means 2 extra items per dungeon, as we see a flute there in Sanctuary and catch the house.
Yeah, flute and a sword. So no matter which, if you took Sank or Link's house, you're getting a pretty nice first item.
Yeah, that'll flute speed things up quite a bit right away. So yeah, the map and compass are shuffled in 2 extra items per dungeon, with the exception of Hyrule Castle. There's 1. There's no compass, as well as boss enemizers. So while we have some restrictions on certain dungeons as to which boss can be there, and I'm not actually sure which all those are, you're going to see, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it's going to be every boss is available, and then you'll see 2 twice, assuming that, we have to do all the
3 twice.
Oh, 3 twice, yeah.
But yeah.
Forgot about the old ice armors there.
Yeah, you got 3 copies of the Light World boss. There's in GT, 1 of each. So you get 3 duplicates. Ooh, there's the hammer on Race Game. So definitely TDG is very happy to have gotten some bombs from the 50-50 bushes, who are they're not always nice, but they were today.
I swear I just used this line, but it's like sickle and hammer % already. Must have been some other
already have. Yeah, and so one thing that you were pointing out with the maps and the compasses being shuffled, normally if you're playing in a regular open mode, maps and compass in the dungeons are pretty useless, but in this mode, they are definitely not. The maps will tell you which prize the dungeons have, like do they have a red crystal, blue crystal, green pendant, or what? And then the compasses will tell you what boss is in the dungeon. Now, you have to actually be in that dungeon to be able to check. You can't check Turtle Rock boss from the overworld, but if you're in Turtle Rock and you open up your menu, the map menu, you'll get to see who's in there, which can be very helpful if you can't beat particular bosses.
Yeah, the good old X button going to get a little bit of a workout today. Normally doesn't happen. The other thing that Compass will do, and this is typical for any key sanity mode or anything where those are shuffled, you're going to get a count of the checks in the dungeons, just in case you lose track of them in something like pod or anything with a lot of them.
Yep, and we saw both these runners checked Lumberjack Cave. I can't say with certainty what we saw here, but I saw what looked like a triangle on the bottom pixels. And if you see a triangle, that means it's like a heart piece or a rupee, and you don't have to get it.
Yeah, nothing too interesting.
So you can see the bug net over there in the Lost Woods. And so we've already got the flute and the hammer and the sword. So doing pretty good in terms of early items so far. I haven't found anything else much in that Kakariko dip yet.
Yeah, I'm trying. They didn't touch the item pool for this, did we? So like the bug net probably isn't going to see too much use.
It can be nice in the clutch sometimes if you're they've already got the bottle. Sometimes you can catch a fairy. My favorite is when you're doing if you end up doing Hera Pot in Tower of Hera and you don't have like the cane or something, you can just catch a fairy and do Spike Cave out of logic.
True. Yeah, just trying to remember if we actually can get pre-filled bottles here. I think we can.
Yes, in the hard open, we will only get empty, but in map, compass, boss, there's no restriction on the item pool, and also the bows are progressive. They are not the non-progressive bows you may have been used to if you were watching the main tournament qualifiers.
Yeah, those who were around last year, remember we ran standard with a slightly different hard item pool. Basically, it meant that you get your hearts pretty quickly. So here they turn a lot of those containers into heart pieces. That's for, you know, not the motor running today, as we're seeing the flute activated here, which is, again, nice already. But
yeah, this mode will be pretty standard. It'll feel pretty standard until it doesn't, basically. Because, like, yeah, you'll get some maps and compasses out in the world, which is just a little. The dungeons have a little more items. The overworld items are a little less good because there's more maps and compasses. But then you just find, like, a Trinex in the back of the desert or something to remind you, hey, this is not. It's not a normal open seed.
so there's a first big chunk of progression at some point. That fire rod's showing up. So, you know, that'll allow certain dark rooms logically. Gives you that the ability to light torches, that kind of thing. Once, you know, we can't do anything with it right now, but better to find that now than later as well.
Yeah, and one thing I'm always thinking about early in these boss shuffle modes is what bosses can I beat when I have stuff? And with that hookshot on Sick Kid, they're actually now up to all bosses but Trinex can be defeated, which is pretty nice when you're only 5 minutes in, because generally it's okay. There are some that you can beat with basically nothing, like you can beat Helmasaur with like a bow and bombs or hammer and bombs. You can beat Blind with a cane of burner or Samaria, but then you've got things like Moldorm that need the hammer or the sword, and then obviously Cold Stare needs some sort of fire source. Argus needs the hook shot, and Trinex needs a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's just dungeon. It's like you say, I had to think about it, but yeah, just dungeon traversal is what we're looking for at this point. Things like the cane, you know, you need, but for the bosses themselves, no.
Yeah, it really makes some interesting situations where you feel like you might be in go mode. You really like to find the ice rod, particularly in these seeds, because you'll end up in a lot of spots where you're like, okay, I'm in go mode as long as my next 4 bosses that I face, none of them are Trinex, that's a pretty tenuous go mode to be in.
Yeah, and that's another thing when you're all this early. It begs a question of how much do the runners clear? You know, when it's, you know, let's say the ice rod's still getting put off for a while. You know, how much do you clear? You might not see Trinex. You don't know until you get into the dungeons with the compass or get into the room.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I worry about when they have the nice defeating boss items early is that they're still on 3 hearts. They got Iceman was able to collect the blue mail, so at least they won't be the worst fights ever. But sometimes you get some really bad fights in this mode. You'll get a Vitreous and Tower of Hera with 3 hearts that you have to beat, and it's just never fun.
So Booker in the dam, or Lake World Swamp Palace or whatever. I gotta ask you, did TDG, where was that bottle at now?
I'm not entirely sure. So let me think. What did Iceman do that TDG didn't do? Oh, it's probably Uncle.
Oh, is it? Okay. I forgot. Yeah, no bottle, no hook shot. So.
Yeah, because Iceman did Uncle routing. TDG did he did Sank for the chest and then Save and Quit and South routed CAC.
Yeah, I figured Rades would help us out there. Rades doing button pushing for us tonight. We would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, those trackers always coming in the clutch. Also, the runners have been pretty fortunate to get a lot of early money. Now, they don't have a glove or a flipper. Zora is not in Logic, but with like where TDG is, it's often you'll consider going there. Though without the Moon Pearl, it's much less tempting. In this situation, I might often, depending on what you got, I might even consider just skipping Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, with the flute, that becomes a much easier choice to make for sure. If you really need to get it at some point, you just fly right back.
Yeah, at this point, Desert's looking pretty good, I think. I would probably want to head over there pretty soon because they've got a fire source. They don't have the glove, they can't go in the back, but there's not very many items left in Logic. So between Agina and the few items that are in Desert, I won't be surprised to see them go over there. Though TDG is going to go up to the Eastern Palace Saha area, which is another good area. It's not clearable either, but there's basically 3 free items in Saha's Hut.
Yeah, this is a good chunk. I was ready to say it right before TDG did the flute, and yeah, I was gonna say check this first. Maybe you find that glove, and you have to come back to Desert. That'd be nice.
Though we'll see. Iceman's up on the mountain now. He's doing this out of Logic old man rescue, but that's fine. You need to save and quit at some point. It's pretty easy with the sword. The more important thing is though he's going to use this hook shot. We see that Tapat is the green pendant, but he's going to use this hook shot that he got from Sick Kid, which TDG might be a little late to that, considering it's not fun to go back to Kakariko just for Sick Kid. And East Death Mountain has a lot of good items on it.
Yeah, very true. And then, like you say, you get your save and quit point at the very least. Saha's Claws are just a map to the aforementioned Desert Palace. Nothing terrifically helpful there.
All right, TDG looks like he's going to go up to that uncle. He could also go into the front of Escape, which I do not believe we saw Iceman go to, even though he had the sword. It's just, we have to wonder when TDG will get back to Kakariko. Luckily for him, he has the flute, so it's not as bad as it normally is to go back for Just Sick Kid. There's a map in Spectacle Rock. The worst part about those in plain sight maps is they're just so often the GT or Hyrule map. But it looks like Iceman just is gonna ignore it. He doesn't care about it right now. Honestly, he could be thinking about coming and getting it after Hera, which is a valid play as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if this was directly to Hera, you'd see that first, and then you get it on the way out. But yeah, you have to go a long way, which is fine early with a bunch of checks in the way.
And Iceman without that fire rod, we'll have to see. That could come into play because Tower of Hera can have a cold stare in it, but they have the compass. They can check it and see. Oh, okay, maybe he does have the fire rod, just wasn't on there. I missed it. But yeah, he'll be able to see what's in there. So they'll be able to beat Tower of Hera boss for sure then. Both of these runners, because Trinex cannot be up there.
Yeah, Hera is one of those restricted things, which is just don't break the game restriction type thing. Randomizer has to abide by. I don't remember what all can be there. And Moth's one, Helmasaur's one.
Yep. So yeah, Moth, Helma, Vitreous, Molorm, obviously. I believe Argus. I'm not 100% sure. And did I say Vitreous already?
Yeah, you did.
Cold Stare.
I haven't played a ton of Randomizer, but I haven't seen Argus. Doesn't mean I won't.
Yeah, Argus can definitely be in Molorm areas. And then the only other real restriction is that Trinex cannot be in Skullwoods. It's not big enough for him.
But somebody's probably really upset about that because the moving floor just makes it that much more fun.
Oh god, I can't imagine Trinex on the Mongula floor.
Yeah, while we're at it, why don't we ice down the thing with crowd control too, huh? Let's do that.
I don't know how the ice and the conveyors interact. I think there's some sort of weird interaction. And TDG is going to set up this death warp here on this chain ball and chain guard. It's a bit inconvenient with the blue mail. You have to be careful here.
Yeah, and this could be a thing too, because if that little key shows up here at Dark Cross, we got logical access, fire rod, advanced placement, etc., etc. So.
And we saw on Iceman's side that the boss at the top of Tower of Hera is Helmasaur. So I don't really like Helmasaur up there. If you have enough bombs, it's not too bad. It's just he hugs that middle hole so bad, and they don't have a bow or anything. So this is not going to be an easy fight should Iceman elect to try it, because he's going to have to either hit him with the hammer or the fighter's sword on that jewel once the mask is broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see how many items come up being found in here too. Somebody can track for me, because we also don't know what the prize is.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a crystal or penny, but we do see that TDG gets over to that hook shot, which is really good, because that could have been something that's a little late for him. If he's paying attention to the logic, he knows that there's not really that much left for him. He has like Eastern Palace, Desert Palace dips, and Sick Kid. So why not knock out that quick check beforehand, and he gets rewarded with the hook shot. And we've got the big key in the basement here, so Iceman's going to take a break, elect to collect this big key. Some runners will do the hero pot, but a lot of them will just want to play it safe and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, especially with 2 more items being in the dungeon, like chances are real good it's going to have an item, so might as well.
I think the thing I talked about earlier about using the bug net in Hera, I would absolutely do that right here, because I mean, I guess it's not, Helma's not as bad of a boss for killing you. He's really bad for knocking you into the middle hole, but it's just so nice in boss shuffle to have that extra fairy.
Mm-hmm. Which you can attain in the Hera pot there, but I guess Iceman's just going to walk it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not super comfortable with it, it's not going to save that much time. So.
Yeah, but if you want a ferry, you have to go back down. So.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Yeah.
There's a way. I think there's a hole you can fall through to get there in the normal way. I just don't know which one it is.
Well, it's clear at the top floor on the little 1x2. I think it's there in both tile states.
And we'll get to see what map that is up in Spectacle Rock. TDG is going to elect to grab it right away.
And 3 things that could be useless now or useful now. So, Swamp Palace. So that's kind of the mid-range usefulness.
All right, let's see if he gets this bomb to make. He's hey, very nice. Yeah, I guess that has a decent window of left to right alignment. He was a little bit further left than I normally am when I do that.
Quick check there with the map and pendant and desert. So at least, when you find out it's a pendant, that's helpful because that's less maps you need to complete your little puzzle there.
Yeah, and I think it makes it not as well. Desert already isn't too bad to dip without the glove if you have to go back for Mire. So because these runners are running really low on check. I think we got basically Spiral Cave and Eastern Palace right now, and I probably would prefer a known pendant desert dip to a possibly crystal Eastern dip.
Good old Helmosaur feet all over the place.
Yep, and Helmosaur loves that middle hole, so I like the camping him out on the side there. You gotta be careful about that tail. He can get you where Iceman is.
Yeah, you see the tail start spinning up like that, he might, okay.
Blue mail is really helpful here.
Yeah. Also bouncing the bomb off the mast so they don't go in the hole.
Yeah, so oftentimes can be pretty good to delay, to cook the bomb a little bit so that by the time it gets over to him, it's mostly blown up. Oh, he moved. That was really nice of Helmosaur to move over like that. Okay, got one hammer hit. Yeah, this is the hard part about this fight.
Fireballs and tail. Ooh.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, if you can get out of that sequence there with one hit, you're doing pretty good. So, I mean, it's a quick trip up if you can do the haircut, but it's gonna pass for the moment.
Yeah, I hope for Iceman's sake that the progression's not on there because it's perfectly fine to just come back there later and do that when you have a little bit more safeties. But if that's the next progression, it's going to be a bit rough because that's definitely not an easy fight if you don't have the bow.
Yeah, I don't know if Iceman actually has the Desert Palace knowledge or not. Well,
if he hasn't been to the south yet, he doesn't have the dam yet.
All right, so. But, I mean, at least we know that it's more than likely a crystal.
Or we know desert's a pendant, but we know, you mean Hera's more than likely crystal?
Yeah, Hera was
going
from that whole thing.
Yeah, because I think that he doesn't even have the Eastern Palace area green pendant knowledge on pot, so we'll have to get it. Now, also looking at TDG, he's got his routing gave him a few more hearts than Iceman, which is definitely nice. It's definitely good to come here with 8 or 9 hearts and blue mail. This could have been a much worse Tower of Hera Helma. Oh, there's that moon pearl and that mushroom from the East Death Mountain, I believe.
Yeah, Paradox or Iceman was getting it. TDG was getting it while Iceman was busy with Helmosaur.
All right, looks like TDG is going to go for that Hera Pot, going to elect to skip that big chest. And that's an interesting setup, but it definitely is something TDG has practiced because he got that. I've seen some double bomb setups like that. I haven't seen that particular one, but there's so many different ways that runners will do Hera Pot.
There's at least 3 I know of. 1 I can do, so yeah.
I'm definitely partial to the Philly Pot setup because it's got such a wide range on the pixels. You can do it pause bufferless pretty consistently. So if you're looking to learn it, definitely find that Philly Pot video.
Yeah, I tried Googling that for somebody, couldn't find it. I don't know where I found it eventually, but yeah, that's the one that I am talking about. But yeah, you're right, it's pretty easy.
All right, so TDG gets the knowledge of the Helmosaur up here, and he only has 4 bombs, which Helmosaur, you can break the mask with 5 bombs or 17 hits. So you can do a combo of hammer and bombs. The hammer, though, you got to be really careful about that middle hole. Helmasaur loves to hang out right over here. He knows how to play in this level.
It doesn't even live here, but yeah.
Yeah, he still hasn't figured out the Skullwoods basement, but he really knows how to do the Tower of Hero top.
I mean, I think the game spawns Helmasaur kind of over there to begin with. Like, I don't think there's such a thing as centered here in this 2x2. But...
Yeah, because I think they spawn him on the super tile of some sort in some way. So this is all just one super tile, I believe. This whole room. And I definitely agree with TDG being really patient here, because it really, you think a Moldorm fall's bad. Try taking a fall to a different boss up here. Cold Steer fall, a Helmasaur fall, you lose so much time.
Mm-hmm. And check this out, Bow Ice Rod Cave.
That is pretty big, considering that we have the Fire Rod as well, so there's a good chance Eastern Palace is clearable.
Yeah, so like we were talking about before, you can fleet back here real quick, but TDG will have to at some point, unless, I guess, now that I say we have to, with the progressive bows, we might find another one in the way somewhere.
Yep, and TDG is still over here. We'll see how he likes to do this. I like the Fighter Sword spin strats here. It's slower, but the hammer is pretty difficult to hit him with. Fighter Sword is much more consistent.
Yeah, TDG getting a little impatient trying to get around the edge here, and I don't blame him at all for that, because, I mean, you want to get done here, but this is starting to take a while.
Oh, you got sniped by the tail. Yeah, you can't stand... Helmasaur's tail has a lot of range going downwards. You gotta... When I'm in here, I like to try to stand off to the right on him. The right and down.
It's one of those deceptively difficult things, especially at this stage.
Yeah, Helmasaur is one of the more difficult bosses, I think, up there. Like, obviously, Mothula is the easiest, and then Moldorm is probably the second easiest. And then it's really, I think, up to preference, I think, between... I probably think Cold Stare is a bit easier, though it depends on your loadout compared to Helma. Because I feel like you're less likely to take a Cold Stare fall. And then I think Vitreous is my least favorite if it's early.
Mm-hmm. So Iceman over here doing fake flippers over to the Outdoorsman, and coming up with a glove.
That is pretty telling.
They're want to have. So that's Dark World access there.
Yeah, so we're gonna probably find like a flippers or another glove over in the eastern area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this has been a pretty lucrative chip for Iceman here, getting the glove and the bow. The great thing about the bow is now, if for whatever reason Helmasaur is required early, that bow will make that second fight a lot easier than without it. The bow really helps the Tower of Hero Helmasaur.
So another bottle there in the Waterfall Ferry, pre-filled with blue. Pretty nice.
In chat pointing out you can do some nice little cheesy strats on those some of the bosses and attack them from outside the ring. I like it.
So yeah, like any of these unknown prize dungeons that we still have, I want to say, well, more than likely they're crystal, but it seems to me like when I have pendant knowledge of 2 of them this quickly, and we're looking for something like flippers, almost seems like a lot of the time, well, it swamps the other pendant, and we're going to be spending time here looking for these flippers just due to the logic on that glove. I mean, we know where it can't be, but...
And yeah, we see TDG is going to do the fairy catch here, which I definitely agree with. Will make this Helmasaur fight a little more consistent. Oh, and we're going to get a back of escape check here by Iceman. Now, this could actually be in logic, funnily enough. I don't know where the key is. I can't remember if TDG picked it up or not.
I did not see it from him. So it's either here or in Dark Cross.
That's here. So this is not in logic, but it was just our container, so that's fine.
Yeah, and I want to say that's it because we saw the map. You can help me out on that one.
I did not. I wasn't paying enough attention when TDG was in the front.
Or we didn't, and it's in Dark Cross, and yeah, we're done. So
And yeah, the map. So the maps are shuffled though. So actually, there's definitely an item in Dark Cross.
Oh yeah. See.
It could still be the Hyrule Castle map, but it doesn't have to be. And Iceman's going to get to go over here and potentially clear out Eastern Palace. Most likely clear out Eastern Palace, as long as we don't have that pesky Trinex in there. Also, another good thing these runners got is half magic. Half magic in boss shuffle is so nice, because I just do not like when you're playing boss shuffle and you have to always make sure you have full magic when you go into a boss if you don't have bombos. Because, like, what if there's a cold stare in there? But the half magic going to be really nice for this seed.
Yeah, I can tell you all about the number of times I've done, routing to a boss, just that part of a dungeon, thinking, well, I need this and this, and I need such and such, and then I remember, oh yeah, we're shuffled bosses.
And TDG in this Helma again, he's got the fairy, so this should be pretty safe. He's gotten a good number of hits on him, and there we go. Helmasaur goes down.
Yeah, and whether it was... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he was hanging out to the right a little bit more, so it was pretty nice.
Yeah, kind of was gonna say, when you have that fairy, you can be a little more aggressive. So if you did that the first time, you could have sped it up a little. But either way, crystal down.
Yeah, I think I don't know if TDG checked his map before, his dungeon map, to see that it was Helma up there. That might have been why he didn't pick up the fairy at first.
We're just gonna jot that down as a standard crystal for now, until we see a menu or something similar, I guess. But that's the fun of map shuffle.
Yeah, I almost never care what the red crystals are until I get close enough to, like, okay, he can't even get to the bomb shop yet. So once that is a thing, then we'll worry about red or not.
Yeah, it's just something I say because we don't have like we have a crystal with a question mark on it, kind of thing.
Oh, I like that what Iceman just did there to get to exactly 110 rupees. That's some good situational awareness, I think, because he could be thinking about going into Palace of Darkness soon. I mean, it is a pendant, but it's nice to have that money.
How much did he have before the 12 there? I didn't see.
He was at like 108 or 98 or something, because he picked up the 12 that were next to the chest.
And there's a 20, of course.
And we saw the big key in the first chest of Eastern, so this Eastern Palace boss is going to be in Logic. So that makes me feel better about the Fire Rod probably not being necessarily for an early Cold Stare, but it could be both early Cold Stare and or getting to the boss.
Yeah, you know what? We can talk about this. It's something I haven't really figured out, but when you mention stuff like that, it almost seems like when you get something and you're like, well, thinking it's for, this must be what it's for, and then it's for something else. Usually only ends up being one of those things.
Yeah, I guess it depends. The whole philosophy behind that sort of thought, it's like there's only so many early places to place items. So if an item gets placed there, it's more likely it got placed there because you need it to go somewhere soon versus it just getting placed there randomly. The classic example is early Cape. If you find early Cape, it greatly increases the odds of being an Agassi, because it's like, okay, either that cape was placed there early because you needed to get to Aghanim, or the cape just happened to not be needed at all and rolled being in Kakariko.
Yeah, same thing with the swords, as they're just, barrier access, and I played these seeds where you get all these swords, are like, that's super nice, and then you realize, oh, well, it's not trying to be nice, it's just trying to tell you to act.
Yep. Nice, man. Gonna do that, this dark room out of Logic. A pretty simple dark room, so definitely one that you would like to know. So he'll get to get all of the items out of here, no matter what, because we know that with the map compass shuffle, this is going to be an item. There's no 50-50 gambling for Eastern Palace Vanilla Big Key Chest in this.
Yeah, the full clearing Scupula over here approves greatly.
And we're seeing TDG is going to go over to Desert, which I think makes sense from his perspective, because he does not have that bow that Iceman got from Ice Rod Cave. Because I think Eastern, like I was mentioning earlier, is a better dip if they're Pendant Desert versus potentially Crystal Eastern. I would definitely rather go into Desert and not clear it than go into Eastern and not clear it.
Iceman with the basically literally spicy play of getting that torch in the back lit, and there's a cane of Samaria for TDG here in Desert.
That's definitely something good. We're gonna need it today because no matter where the pendants are, they can't both be on Mire and Turtle Rock. There's only one pendant left.
So, Boots locked out of the back of Desert and the big key chest. Might not need it as a pendant, or he might have those items. Hard to say.
Yeah, and he can't even steal the key, unfortunately, because sometimes with Pendant Desert and Boots Lock Desert like this, I like to steal the key, but no gloves, so no key stealing coming. But I don't think Boots Lock Desert, if you come over to Pendant Depth Desert and it's Boots Locked, though with that cape is danger zone for TDG because it doesn't look like it's going to be, like, it's at least a sequence breakable Agassiz. Like, if the lamp is on blind here, then that could be pretty bad. And speaking of which, blind is definitely a boss who gets upgraded in boss shuffle because you can't do the typical blind script. And in some rooms, he's just tough. He's tough in Skullwoods. He's tough in Misery Mire. So blind's not the cakewalk he normally is.
Yeah, that insta spawn alone going away, yeah, it means you can't get behind him. But blind down, at least one of them, crystal in hand for Iceman. 1 and 1.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think, okay, what do these runners have left? We clearly are forgetting something, because the glove is out of logic.
Yeah. Looking for flippers here, yeah, it's the only thing.
Oh, is it? It's Dark Cross. Dark Cross have to have something.
That's one.
That's literally the only check I can think of that these runners have not checked between the two of them. I mean, they have Backup Desert as well, but they could steal the key and do some out of logic stuff with an out of logic glove, but that's not the answer.
Yeah, I'll trust you on that one.
It would be funny because Dark Cross having the lamp, not incredibly unlikely this seed. And there's our last pendant on Swamp Palace.
Yeah, who said that?
So we will know that you definitely are happy to see. I don't know if you're too worried about hovering in the Challenge Cup, but if you got the hookshot early in Pendant Swamp, you're not gonna have to worry about hunting for that, especially in boss shuffle, because the hookshot also has the double purpose of Argus requires the hookshot no matter where he is. So you can sometimes get blocked by an Argus in the climb, even if you can hover.
Yeah, I mean, it was a call that Iceman had to make to, just do this now because it's stuff needing done, and don't worry about the flippers yet. Well, now, unless for some reason you have to go into Swamp, which, there again, potentially chances go up whenever there's 2 extra items in there. It's for a total of 8 in that dungeon. We may not need the flippers at all.
And Iceman deciding, on second thought, I don't want to go to pod, so he's going to go do Hype Cave first, perhaps deciding that the Pendant Pod dip is not something desirable at this point.
Yeah, he might reevaluate once he sees what's in here. But,
yeah, because we know we've got Crystal Thieves Town, which is, every dungeon right now, you gotta have the big asterisk if it's beatable or not, because Thieves Town's beatable as long as there's not a Trinex in there.
Cave doing the good stuff. It just somehow figures. These days, it seems like if there's anything in Paradox, you can forget about Hype Cave. But cross it off the list. It's dead.
Oh yeah, because oftentimes if you go to Paradox before Spike, it's like, or Hype, that's where you're getting your Dark Roll X, and then like Hype Cave is the immediate next check. So if they both have stuff, then it's going to be a quick clear. And we see Skullwoods and Ice are the red crystals.
Yep, so we know the crystals that we have between our runners are both, not going to be worth extra items, just gain entire access.
Yeah, it could also be the, I always have to worry about finding an ice rod somewhere weird because of random Trinex.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only other one of these I've seen was actually in Thieves Town. Both runners had to just leave. I'm like, well.
I don't mind Trinex and Thieves Town too much, because Thieves Town actually, I think, is the dungeon that becomes the best in a map compass shuffle, because you just walk to the back and see if there's a boss, and if you're feeling lucky, you can just skip the entire back and treat the back of Thieves like left side swamp and just leave it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No maiden, no worries.
So if you find a Trinex there, you're just like, okay, I'm leaving, and then come back later. But we'll see where TDG is going to go here, because he doesn't have the out of logic glove, so he doesn't have the option to do what Iceman is doing here. We'll see if he remembers about Dark Cross, because I feel like that's the only place there could be progression. And so I'm thinking that if that is the lamp, then that's going to be pretty rough for TDG, because that would probably point him to Aga.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're used to advanced placement, but a lamp in a dark room is still just kind of a
Oh yeah,
heck you kind of thing.
that's when you really learn about advanced logic. It really cements into your head that the Armos Knights are not necessarily locked by the lamp when they give you the lamp.
And I really like Dark Cross myself, because I'll be honest with you, I still don't actually know where the torch is in that room. I mean, I guess it's off to the left, maybe in the middle, but...
So in Dark Cross, it's easy. So you just line up with the cross part, and it's on the southmost part.
Yeah, okay.
And then the snake room is in the bottom right corner. So those are the two I know.
It's just not that much easier than just finding the chest anyway, but I mean, you know.
Well, the funny thing is, if you have the boots and the fire rod in Dark Cross, I think it's better to not use the fire rod, because if you locate the torch, you just bonk off it, and then you'll be lined up with the chest.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, why waste the fire rod shot when I can just bonk off it?
So anyway, Iceman over there in Lost Woods getting mugged. No ped.
Nope, just a piece of a heart, unfortunately.
I'll tell you, these thieves, though, never bothered me that much, you know, playing this vanilla game, but here it's like, you know, they can take whatever they want. I don't care what they take, just don't take my bombs.
Oh yeah, it's so annoying when you have two bombs and the thief hits you and just you happen to drop both of them. It's very tilting.
So anyway, blind as Knights down there for TDG, and 2 crystals down the back, so...
Yep, and meanwhile, Iceman's making his way over to Skullwoods. Skullwoods is the last dungeon that we can say 100% these runners can beat, because there cannot be a Trinex in here. It might not be an easy boss. Luckily, Iceman's equipped with 11 hearts and blue mail, because the Skullwoods boss, and it can be awful sometimes. Even if it's Vitreous right now, I still think it's not a good fight. Ooh, TDG is going to set up the fake flipper, so as long as he goes to the man underneath the bridge here, this will be great for him. He won't have the risk of getting baited into a potential Ag MC.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen here. We'll check the island, nothing there as we know, and then it's glove time.
Yeah, let's see who we're going to get. I'm interested to see who we're going to get in Skullwoods here. I'm hoping for someone not too bad, but honestly, basically everyone's bad in here except Mothiel and Moldorm.
Yeah.
Root for an insect to be in the bottom of Skullwoods. I don't know what Moldorm is an arthropod. I don't know. I don't know the biology of the Hylian bosses.
Yeah, that's definitely not a course I had the tuition for.
Because like Vitreous down here with Fighter Sword it's such a bad fight. I am not a fan. Armos is not good. Like Armos and Blind, they'd be much more doable than Vitreous, but still not fun. Because the Armos Knights like to their little dance routine is a bit too big for the room. All right, Moldorm, there we go. Something nice for Iceman today.
Yeah, not too bad. You gotta watch the walls, and it's a hard, but better than falling. But
yeah,
so it looks like Moldorm's having more
he
trouble.
Is very stuck. Yeah, the boss's AI really don't work in this dungeon. Vitreous is just at home. Vitreous and Mothil are perfectly fine, but Helmasaur becomes Helmicopter, and Moldorm becomes this little thingy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I love Helmicopter, but I don't think I've ever seen a Moldorm in here, so I'm going to start rooting for that.
Helmicopter is great if you're not playing it, because sometimes low percent Helmicopter is just awful, because like you fall into the dungeon and you just take a hit. And if you're on green mail, then you just lose 2 hearts coming in, and it's no fun.
So yeah, now there's a 5/6 crystal down, and that's going to give Iceman 2 as well. So.
Oh, I wonder if it's probably better in boss shuffle. We always drop in through the top because that's just, I don't know, that's where the magic is. But I think in boss shuffle you should drop in from the bottom so you don't fall onto Helmicopter.
I don't know.
But yeah, Iceman's going to show us this last item. And then, yeah, the Cane of Burna. So do we get an item on Moth? Or not Moth, Moldorm?
You know, I didn't catch that.
Got a crystal.
And then we got a crystal.
All right, let's see where TDG elects to go. It looks like he's going to go over to the same place Iceman is, over to Village of Outcasts and Skull Woods, which, nope, he's going to go do that back escape first.
Yeah, I think we're going to assume, we'll figure it out sooner or later with this moth thing, not moth thing, Iceman. I think is going to leave only when he's done.
Yeah. As long as it's my, you got to remember in Map Compass Boss at Skull Woods is 4 items and not 2.
Mm-hmm.
The blue cane was in the other chest in Skull Woods, and we're gonna see what's in Dark Cross here. TDG is gonna go. We'll see if it is gonna be the lamp. It could. I think it has to be progression at this point, since it's the last check that I know of that they have in Logic. There's a chance I've missed one as well, but this could also be something else, though. It could be the other glove.
Yeah, it could. And then the next steps in the Dark World.
Oh no, wait, no, I don't. No, it can't. Because okay, Dark Cross doesn't require the key.
Oh.
The key, you can have the key be in Dark Cross. It's flippers, okay.
Flippers, okay, yeah.
So that could be, like, Swamp's a pendant, so we don't necessarily need those flippers. But it probably will be a while till Iceman gets back to Dark Cross. But yeah, that's good by TDG. You gotta imagine he was keeping track of the logic, because that's, you don't go... I mean, I guess if you have the key already, it makes sense to go back there, but it's definitely nice to make sure you've got your logic resolved like that. I don't think he had anything left in logic.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty sure about that at this point. I'll tell you that it really shows up when I get on here and start running my yap here. That I really don't. I don't know the logic all that well, to be honest. But even I was saying it's probably flippers or lamp. I was just kind of going off of you, and then I was thinking, you know, if that's true and they know that, then those are actually 2 items that are yes progression, also not needed.
Yeah. So you can feel, even if you're paying really close attention, you may even skip that. It's always dangerous skipping the lamp, because sometimes you're not actually skipping the lamp and you're skipping something that leads to the lamp. That's always my biggest fear with, like, you sequence break the mountain and find something and you think, oh, I just skipped the lamp, but then you skip the hammer or something.
Yeah, so I was kind of going around to that in my head that, you know, I think TDG knew kind of what it had to be down there, but decided, you know, it wasn't worth leaving either. So
yeah, you don't have, like, especially if it's something like Dark Cross and you've already got, like, these runners have good things they can do. Like Skullwoods and Thieves Town are both good options, and it's not like you're going to get the Ice Rod in there to make it so that you can guaranteed beat thieves or anything. So it definitely, even if you're keeping track and knows there's something in there, you can put it off a little bit.
No, Iceman's out of Skullwoods. Didn't see anything too great come up. TDG's waiting on the taxi.
Yeah, best thing we saw was Cane of Burna, which is good for Iceman to do Spike Cape. We know the cape is available as well.
So up comes, next on our shopping list, the Village of Outcasts with Thieves Town.
Yep, and we'll, it's always this probably be able to beat it, but luckily Thieves Town, they'll be able to find out pretty quickly as long as they peek. Iceman or TDG just peek back there pretty quickly.
And if I'm not too much mistaken, in this mode is 9 items, so, and a crystal, so definitely not much else we're going to want to do right now.
Yeah, it's a very dense location, and they can't just walk back up here after going to the south route, so both these runners will probably want to... I would not be surprised at all to see TDG come down here, especially since they don't have the mirror. Like, TDG has the cape, so you might see TDG go up to Bumper Cave real quick. Ooh, I was almost knocked back by the Helmasaur into the Wallmaster. So very good there by TDG to not have that happen.
Yeah, I love that rune. I had about a half second to spare on the next one.
All right, here's our Moldorm. Also, the Moldorms are all going to have 6. I believe that's 6 eyes. He's moving too fast. I can't tell. But they're all going to have that many eyes.
Yeah, you know, is that just incidental to the generation, or is that something that they decided to set because it was fun?
Oh, they did it because it's fun. Like if
Okay.
you play with let's see, what is it? Oh, if you play Enemizer with boss shuffle off, then it still shuffles the number of eyes on the Moldorms.
That's cute. I didn't know. I just figured, Enemizer things, but no, that's funny that they found a variable for that. Okay.
Yeah, if you're playing boss, if you play Mystery Seeds, you'll see like a 7-eyed Moldorm in Tower of Hera, but that doesn't mean it's shuffled, boss or shuffled at all.
So now I gotta think about why that is. I mean, it might be like the tree thing, I guess, where the eyes are separate sprites, and you're like, oh, just we have some slots available. Just throw a few in.
Yeah, I don't know how it works specifically.
Yeah, it's fun.
If I had to guess, I would say that like there's like pieces of Moldorm that have the eyes coming off it and the sprite, and like it's broken into pieces. And Iceman did not go to the back of, he's just gonna full clear Thieves Town like normal. Probably will even bomb the attic, because like it's hard to not do it when you're playing boss shuffle. You just bomb the attic.
And I'll tell you what, some of this stuff here on or around the HUD and when we're doing restreaming is nice, because I'm like, well, maybe there was a compass check. Maybe he knows about stuff we know. He doesn't have the compass because there's no count on the screen.
Yeah.
Which makes me look like I know what I'm doing. So.
Because we already saw Iceman definitely knows about the compasses, because he did a compass check in Tower of Hera, so he's definitely keen on that information.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, Andrew asking about, we'll do a quick tree pole lesson. You just kill one enemy and you'll get one tree pole. You can kill 4 enemies with getting hit and get a different kind, or you can kill 4 enemies without getting hit to get yet another kind.
And I will never in my life actually remember all that. It's an amazing thing. I remember in SMZ3 you don't have to do any of that. I can remember that. You can start on tier 3, but...
It's very useful in some of these early seeds to get some extra bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the stun prize is 8 bombs today, so that I didn't get to see that yet, but Iceman just got 8 bombs from that stun pack. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so yeah, boots in the attic and good knowledge there from Iceman, remembering you do not have to mess with the ceiling pole.
Yeah, that's always, it takes such restraint, because like there's just some things that are so muscle memory, it's hard to not bomb that ceiling.
Yeah, each room has, it's almost like a script in your head, which is why I can't play Tired anymore, because it's just all autopilot.
Yeah. An interesting thing is, though, even though it should make sense that the boss could have the key, so we don't know if that key is locked, but the boss cannot have the key in boss shuffle. It's landless, by the way, now. You can tell because if it's empty, it's landless.
Might make you think a little if you're not paying attention. Well, there's no boss in here to begin with, normally.
Yeah, that's true. you come walk out, try to walk out and go put the hole in the ceiling.
Oh, I guarantee you I'd have a moment like, oh, I didn't do the light thing, oh. Yeah.
At least it plays the music when you walk in there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we can't hear it.
And there's just a bottle up on that bumper ledge, so that cape is not going to be required. All right, so Iceman coming out of Thieves Town. Let's see if he's going to keep that. He does, in fact, keep the save and quit. Could have also gone. No, he did shuffle in the game already. So yeah, there's nothing really to do over there. TDG is probably going to follow in his footsteps, finish up this Village of Outcasts, go into Thieves Town, and there's really just not much in there.
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking for, just enough that you clear the whole thing. Now, I don't know what TDG will do. He might have a choice on his hands for that one, but...
Oh, where did those boots show up? Was that on the boss?
That was the attic.
Oh, the attic. Okay, I didn't even see him using them on the way. But yeah, that gives him a few extra checks.
You really wanted him. He picked him up and immediately sprinted out of the room, even though it's like 2 tiles away. It's kind of fun.
He's so excited. You got him. You want to use him. Looks like Iceman's going to go over to Pod, which is where he almost went into Pod earlier and probably should have continued there. But now okay, just go into Pod until you get something now.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably, so it's not going to be logically full clearable without the lamp, but it probably is full clearable as long as there's no Trinex.
I'm still trying to think of if there's some way, you know, lamp could be available and like that glove, like the other glove, or is that completely out now because we know about the flippers?
Yeah, the lamp doesn't have to be available. It doesn't show up anywhere. The reason the lamp would have shown up there is if it was Aghanim, and then there would be something over here in Pod or Catfish, or not even Catfish, just Pod. Well, no, actually, they had the hook shot, so they would have been able to get over to Thieves Town too. That's why it looked like such an Agassi. That's why I was thinking it would be the lamp, because they got the hook shot, they had the sword, so the lamp would have given them Aghanim, but nope. Though I think wouldn't be surprised to see something show up in here. It doesn't have to be the lamp, but it could be Pod. There doesn't seem to be very many other options over here for them other than Pod.
Love.
Yep, there's the mitts.
Yeah, I don't know why I do it. I always call the gold one the glove and the other one the mitts. It's like.
So it looks like Iceman not a fan of Pendant Pod at all. Gonna leave again, which I mean it makes sense. You got the gold, you got the mitts. There could still be more in there, but yeah. It might just be the mitts.
I'll tell you what, I've seen some real dangerous stuff going on there, and that's whenever, you know, there's still 4 items in Pod, not 6. So keep an eye on that one. This here's play.
So Iceman could potentially be in Kane of Samaria go mode, right? He just needs, you'd have to fake Filbert Ice Palace, but we're gonna need, if he gets lucky and both of the medallions are ether, then that will be all unless the Trinex shows up along the way. Though with this many bosses, it's got to be like a 70% chance that the Trinex shows up somewhere.
And I'll tell you one thing I don't know for sure. I mean, not that there's only one. There's plenty, don't worry. But
Land Molus, tough death there. Though honestly, okay, Fairy still. That's one of the less bad boss deaths you can take because it's pretty quick to get back to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not understanding not using a fire rod here, honestly. Just me.
All right, he's changed his mind. We're trying to save the magic refill time after being the boss.
Well, yeah.
Or maybe just practicing your Boland Molus to get your NMG speed run down. All right, it's Bombos Medallion for Myers, so that whole Kane only go mode thing, that is no longer the case. That Bombos Medallion could be very deep in the seed. We'll see.
Anyway, like I was saying, when the bosses get shown, because I know when you're in full Enemizer, the logic stays the same. They did not recode the logic for bow access, like you still logically needed to get through to back Eastern Palace. I don't know, like, can the Ice Rod move around if, like, say, you know, the only Trinex is GT Climb or something?
So they definitely do change it. They don't, because otherwise you could run into unclearable seeds with Trinex locking stuff. The thing is though, like, so like Eastern that doesn't mean like Eastern requires the bow, because like Eastern requires the bow, but not because Armos requires the bow. So the bosses in general have lower restrictions than the dungeons they're in. But they definitely do adjust it because otherwise Trinex would ruin seeds.
Yeah, I know Eastern, you know, you only need it for 2 or 3 red Igors, that's it. But I don't know if they bothered taking the time to, you know, redo the logic in that way for just the bosses.
Yeah, because like you mentioned in Enemizer, like Eastern Palace is technically bow locked because the Igors need to kill them anyway, but in Enemizer gets replaced with things that can be killed without the bow.
So now if the boss filling affected the item filling.
Oh yeah, it definitely does, because sometimes you'll have like a boss that in like I guess like there's not any bosses in the early game that you wouldn't be able to beat. It would have to be something like Mold Worm being replaced with something that you can beat without a hammer or sword. But it would be more like the more troublesome one is just Trinex being somewhere, which would block the whole game if you didn't check that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just clear back from when you start talking about, you know, the no mode that we're into here.
Oh, where was that cane, the TDG? Oh yeah, that's in Desert.
Yeah, a map chest. So it'll kind of, you know, could put you into like a GT mode where you just go to GT and hope you don't need whatever it is you don't have, type thing. Even if it's more things.
We're still gonna need that Bombos medallion, and also I imagine Iceman's gonna go over to Dark Death Mountain here and show us what's on the Turtle Rock medallion, so we'll know if we're gonna need more there. And then there's the dreaded Ice Rod, where Turtle, you don't even know if you get Trinexed in any of these dungeons.
Yeah, that's the climb is what I was thinking of with all that. I was like, just hope it just shows up.
Yeah, because he can be in all of the dungeons that are left. He can be in Ice Palace, Misery Mire, and Turtle Rock, obviously. And then he could be in the climb, first boss slot, or he could be in Ice Trinex with the key behind him. Iceman coming back here for revenge on this Helmasaur. Now that he has the bow, this should be a much nicer fight. Does not have a better sword, but that bow is very helpful for this fight.
Yeah, so I was gonna say both runners have one sword. You're still gonna have to be looking for another one at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Doing a good job of getting those bombs by Helmasaur. All right. Oh, hammer? I don't know, man. It definitely, yeah. I'm not a fan of. If you have the boots, I might try to hammer him here, because then you can do the spin speed setup. Maybe that's what he was going to go for. I like just camping him with the bow, right? Like this. There we go. And good knowledge standing in the middle here, because that's where the item falls in boss shuffle.
Yeah, I mess that up all the time.
I definitely would have messed up, because that does not look like the middle. It's the middle of the room, but not the middle of the platform, I guess. So that was good. He knew exactly where to stand there. So we'll get Iceman going over here, showing us our first new checks in a while with this Dark Death Mountain. Also, he didn't do Spiral Cave, because the way that he routed to do that map after Hera rather than do this.
Yeah, I'm usually a fan of doing this after Hera, if that's how it shakes out.
Yeah, especially in the situation they were in earlier, where they did not have, neither runner had glove and hammer to have Spike Cave as an option. Because sometimes when you come up here with no mirror, you have to choose between doing Spike Cave or Spiral out of Hera, and I almost will always choose Spiral like you, because it's quicker to get back to Spike.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. TDG needs to get over to those mids, and then we'll have to see when he gets there. I would be surprised if he also leaves immediately, like Iceman did. Though, I mean, I guess he has the flippers, so I might be more tempted in TDG's shoes because of the Ice Palace play, especially with Kane. And looks like TDG is going up here for Spike Caves. I think that's the only thing he's got left. And it is Ether Medallion for Turtle Rock, so Iceman gonna open that up on the off chance that he finds the Cane of Samaria in the Hookshot Cave or something. He can come back here. We know he won't, because it's in desert, but he doesn't know that.
It's the one thing that, if you don't have this part of the TR package, it's nice it's that one, though. You don't have to go in at all.
Yep. Oh, and TDG getting a very nice fairy there, because he was pretty low on health, and you don't want to use more magic than you have to in here.
I'm gonna do it. It's been a real hot minute since I've seen anything in Spike Cave. Ready? Because that's true. Okay, still not.
Still nothing. Yeah, I mean, Ice Palace or more of Pod now is looking like the next play. It's just that since TDG doesn't have the mitts and Iceman doesn't have the flippers, it doesn't look like Ice Palace is appealing to either of these guys.
Iceman do bonks in Kingston? Is that just TDG with the bonks?
They both did Bonk Rocks. I do not know if Iceman did King's Tomb when he got his mitts.
Yeah, I just wondered because that's one potential difference. Something somebody has, the other does not.
Looks like let's see, what's TDG got over here still? Did he do Back of Thieves?
See, one did, one didn't. I don't remember now. Maybe is this?
I know Iceman did Back of Thieves.
He's going this way, so Graveyard Ledge. I don't know what else.
No, I can't do Graveyard Ledge without the mirror.
Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe he did not scout Bumper Ledge. It's the only thought I got.
No, he actually did because he has the cape, so we'll see where he's going. Could just be taking the long way over to Catfish.
Yeah, I guess flippers. So, well, even a hammer would have made that logical. So, that's a way to do it.
Yeah, it's in logic because he could for both ways, both the hammer and the flippers. And then
it's real spicy when you do have the hammer, you don't have flippers, and you still go that way because you just want to do the bomb jump.
And Iceman is going to go to Ice Palace here, so this could lead to some good projection. It's unfortunate for him that he's not going to have the cane for Icebreaker, but it could have something good in here.
Yeah, putting off Ice Palace when you have mitts for too long can result in, hey, there's a cane in here, and I've seen it happen a lot, so this could be a good play, man.
And we know that those flippers, we know where they are. They're probably not something Iceman's going to get to anytime soon because they're in Dark Cross.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's no cane. It's just something you got to do. So,
and this is actually okay. I think this is a pretty good piece of routing too, because like one of the reasons why you might want to sequence break this is Iceman has not done Catfish and Pyramid yet. So Ice Palace is our second red crystal. He can beat this, get the red crystal, and then combo in the bomb with the rest of the pyramid.
See, now if you're gonna find stuff you don't know what you want, right? And you go to Ice Palace, the sword is up there with the things that are nice to have. So I'll say, not sure how many more we'll find, but that will definitely help in the near future.
Yep, need at least one of them. And we'll get our first look at the pyramid over here on TDG's side. Just bombs.
Yeah, minus cane, you really like to see a small key in the Pengator room chest, but it's only a little worse. You do the bomb jump here, you, I guess, do the berry room first.
Yeah, with the hook shot, if you don't have to worry, because that bomb jump, if you don't know the setup, can be a bit annoying. The one in the berry room.
Yeah, there's two in here. This Ice Palace is full of fun stuff.
Oh yeah, you can have an Ice Palace where it makes sense to do 3 bomb jumps. If you've got no keys in the front and then big key in Ice Tea room and no hook shot, yeah, you can be doing this bomb jump plus another 2.
So Iceman will have to lighten up the fingers a little there.
He's not getting far enough left here, I don't think. That looked good vertically. Yeah, he's not far enough left right now.
Yeah, to me, it looked one too far south vertically. Yeah, that's good, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's been times I thought I was off horizontally, but there might actually be wiggle room on it. I don't know.
I normally can't tell because I line up with Link's hat, but Iceman's using a Link sprite, so I can tell his vertical visual cue.
Yeah, I'm not.
TDG not happy about those mitts locations there. Looks like he's gonna do some more stuff in Palace of Darkness. So this is gonna be pretty big, because or no, maybe not. I guess. Okay, so
thought about it. Yeah, and I would.
Yeah, if that ice rod's in the back of Pod and there's a Trinex somewhere, this is gonna be sad for these guys.
I mean, what is TDG missing right now besides Bombos, sword?
Bombos, yeah, Bombos and sword for sure, and then ice rod is like, I don't know, a 60% chance or something.
Yeah, can't really talk yourself into keep doing Pension Dungeon just for something you might need.
No, I actually agree with it for TDG. I'm not surprised because with the cane, Ice Palace is such a quick clear. It's a guaranteed crystal. It was pretty early in Pod. Like I can see it more for TDG. I was pretty surprised when Iceman did it, but With TDG's loadout, and also TDG has done more checks, so he knows there's just not much more stuff left.
It's still... It's more apparent when I watch is just the amount of thinking that goes into it, especially in these one-on-one races. There can be a little bit of metagaming, you know. Iceman is an admin of the main tournament, right? And TDG is just a runner who's been around for a long time, so you know they each know a little bit about each other here, and it might affect some of what they do.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think something that I probably would have done with that pod is I just don't beat Helmet Sword King, even though it's green pendant. I think it can be nice to beat them.
Yeah, or whatever's down there. I mean, kind of curious, but you probably aren't going to see it, maybe.
And TDG is going to try to press that advantage he's got from that Canis Maria, go for a Icebreaker here. Using the sword spin buffer setup, because you can't release that sword spin when you're in the door. So if you want to release it 1 pixel out of the door, you just hold it down and release B and hold right until you get far enough. So very nice there.
There must be 3 or 4 ways to do that too, because every time I see somebody doing it, ain't the way I do it.
Yeah, I mean, the crux of the issue is getting moving 1 pixel to the left from that main barrier and then placing the block. And you gotta get like 1 pixel out of the door and press down right, and then move 1 pixel left.
Yeah, no, I do all that, but apparently the way they make it look is way different. I don't know.
Yeah, there's different setups. You'll have sword buffers. You have some people that just can do it right away, and then they'll have that sword spin setup.
You know, I did the sword buffer, I didn't do any buffer for a while because I got pretty good D-pad. I like it, but after I realized how little time you lose with the one sword swing, I just do it just 100% thing.
Yeah, sword buffers can be really nice for tricks like that. And you're seeing the payoff of the Icebreaker here, because TDG and Iceman they're pretty close to each other now.
Yeah, it's not. They're not even yet, but I mean, yeah, that made up at least a minute and a half, something like that. Maybe 2.
All right, moment of truth over on the Iceman side. We'll see if there's anything but Trinex down here. If there is, then it's going to be defeated.
Well, bugs
it's a pretty moth today.
Yeah, it's a nice color. Bugs don't like cold, though. I know, because I didn't move the beehive.
Yeah, that Mothula was most likely in hibernation before Iceman dropped down there. And we get our second red crystal. We'll see if Iceman is going to route over. And TDG having the hookshot can just fall here. Doesn't have to do a bomb jump.
Yeah, just a shield from the moth itself. So still nothing for aggression-wise coming up yet.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that big bomb turn in, and I'm looking at back of pod right now. I guess okay, but there's also Turtle Rock as well. It's just these runners have to come together. I guess now TDG can just go up there, but it's been a while where they both had half of Turtle Rock access.
Yeah, pod with the 2 extra items from whatever it already has, so that makes it an 8 total. It's just, I mean, Mitz is a big find, but it's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, there's varying levels. The Bowlock side is slow. Like, you can gamble not beating Helma. You can gamble just leaving, like both these runners did.
Yeah, there's definitely no blame for leaving, because the other things adding to it are the fact that you haven't done any of the rest of the front yet besides that one. So, as we know, most of the front is just keys, and you're spending that time before you can even start to see goods. So, if you have to go back, no big deal. It's extra trip through the garden. But not quite finding the tree there.
Yeah, it's a little too short hookshot. They need to make a longer version of the hookshot.
Yeah, I hear in the Zelda 5 game they have one of those. You know, that is OOT. Anyway, other fairy compass. Make me wait. Just some bombs, so.
I forget which compass there was. So there's something interesting about the compasses being in Pyramid Fairy can be telling because the crystal or pendant that the bosses drop is locked by the map and compass of that dungeon. So sometimes you can get something in there like, okay, you couldn't have had the compass of swamp in there because the red crystals were locked by the flippers.
I certainly did not know that, and I'll have to see if I can try and figure that out.
Or sorry, I think it would be the other way. You couldn't get you can't get something that's locked. You can't have the compass behind the crystal, so you can't have the compass of ice in there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of that, so it's like, I don't know if I could ever use that.
It rarely comes into play. The only time it comes into play, it actually came into. I saw a tournament race earlier where it did because there was a compass to a pendant dungeon in GT, and it was hookshot locked.
Huh.
So that meant that the hookshot could not be on pedestal. Well, just one of those little things that it doesn't come up. I just think it's more interesting than anything. Oh, we're going to get our Turtle Rock check here from TDG. So this is where it's looking like it's going to be Turtle Rock or Pod. They're both have about the same amount of items. You really hope it's not something in Mimic Cave here with that mirror being conspicuously absent. But yeah, we're going to see if it's going to be in Turtle Rock or maybe both these runners will head back to Pod soon.
And of course, what we're going to find is the mirror. Khan's Curse. Oops, sorry, wrong dungeon. Go to Swamp.
Yeah, because like the mirror isn't. They don't need the mirror for this season. They are good. I would want the mirror to be in GT. What I like is when you don't need the mirror and you find it right next to the big key in GT, and then you just immediately use it. That is my favorite for late mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mind the gap.
I think another funny one is like if you're normally going to do the mirror out of the Stalfos room and you find it in there, that can be also a fun time. All right, let's see. Iceman is going to do the Smith chain, it looks like.
Yeah, it's another one I forgot about. I mean, we got these big, huge dungeons, but there's a couple things here.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that might point him over to the Desert Palace area, which we know that's where he needs to get that Cane of Samari to get into Turtle Rock. Because I'm thinking maybe he might want to flute over, turn in that purple chest, or dash over and get Bombo's tablet with it. And then you're right by Desert. It might be worth a dip over there.
Yeah, when you have a book and not a mirror, that definitely starts looking attractive, yeah.
Especially since he hasn't been there yet.
Uh-huh. So there's sword number 3. Not a bad find either.
And that's a good sword, I think, because TDG might not get to that one, depending. I mean, if there's something progression on Smith Chain, he will, but when you find a sword in a place like that, you're thinking, okay, that might be a sword I have over my opponent if they just happen to not get there.
Mm-hmm. So now here's Iceman reconfirming, the only dungeon prize that he does not have in this world, and I'm afraid that might drive him away from here.
And there we found the lamp in Turtle Rock. I don't think these runners they've done a single lamp lock chest at this point. It's funny when the lamp's in Turtle Rock, because Turtle Rock is locked by the lamp because of that one dark room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the platform maze, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Not the hardest dark room in the game. It seems hard if you're just thinking about it because it's so wavy, but once you learn that it's just you hold a couple of directions and you just time it a little bit based off what you're seeing, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it can be a little intimidating for new runners because it's an element of control that you lose with the auto movement. But yeah.
Yeah. I definitely learned that one before I learned the Meyer dark room. And I would expect Iceman will want to pick up that purple chest here and then head over to Desert at the same time. We'll get to see there could be something else in Desert as well. That is another option for item placement. TDG was only able to get one item from Desert without having boots. just barely enough space there for TDG. Luckily, he's on the red mail and has a lot of health, so it wasn't too imperiled by those chain chomps, but it's always nerve-wracking.
You know, especially like I said, with all that armor and health, a lot of times the biggest annoyance is it's just knocking you silly. You try and get to the chest, you get knocked away, and do it again, get knocked away, and you're like, come on now.
And even so, like, I'm sometimes, they can be deceptively scary with red mail, because normally you get red mail, you're like, I'm not going to die at anything, and then the chain chomps hit you 4 times. Now you're in Turtle Rock with 5 hearts, and even with red mail, that's not an easy spot to be.
Yeah, those pokies follow right up with that deceptiveness, because they look squishy, you know, not like the chain chomps, but they hit just as hard. So.
Same with those floating skeleton heads. They're moving so slow, but they do so much damage. And you called it right there. There's that mirror in Turtle Rock. Now, the good part about that is you don't have to worry about orphaning Mimic Cave, but the bad part is now there's a lot of mirror checks.
Yeah, you got a point there. I mean, there's a itty bitty feel good to go with that. You know, we'll see what's in there, but it could be just the thing you're looking for, and then that's it.
And we see the boss of Desert is Argus, so that's also a little bit of bad news, because that means it's more likely that Trinex is somewhere else, because if he's not here, then it increases the odds of him being somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if this shuffle is the one that is it the one that we had this discussion. It definitely includes all bosses, or can we?
Yes. Yes, I believe that this one, there's a couple of different words. Like, this is full boss shuffle, but full boss shuffle, I believe, can have some interesting cases with it. But from what I've heard about this one, is that it will guarantee having 3 copies of 2, and then everyone else shows up once. Like, there will be 3 bosses that have a duplicate somewhere, and then the other ones will just be their ones. Not counting the Aga duplicate, of course, because there's always 2 Agas. A Aga duplicate would be like that 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, I've seen stuff going on where people are like, oh, why don't we shuffle Aga? And then they're just saying it just because it's not shuffled and we want to play shuffled, right? Well, you got some devs saying, well, we can't do it. And then you got another dev saying, you know, we can do it, you just don't want it.
Yeah, maybe they should just do that festive shuffle where he can shoot lasers. He can shoot the lightning beams from anywhere.
Yeah, I missed that one. That sounds like a trip.
All right, so let's get to see what these other checks in Desert Palace are. It looks like Heart Piece here. And we're getting also some simultaneous new check with TDG on Laser Bridge here. We'll see if this is going to pay off in any way. And yeah, our tracker pointing out in chat, I think he did just skip Mimic Cave, which is not having the mirror at first. Maybe that's why I would think about that, but he did get the mirror in here.
Yeah, it might just not have clicked right away, and I know I do that same kind of thing.
So it's still going to be orphaning Mimic Cave, unfortunately, for Mimic Cave.
Well,
maybe Iceman will do it and show us what's in there.
I was going to say, we've been counting. It doesn't matter, huh?
I haven't been counting.
Oh,
but
no,
yeah, because Mimic Cave is...
It's not even part of the dungeon. I just keep thinking it is. I do that all the time.
And we'll get to see if there's going to be a regular Trinex here. If I'm rooting for it, a Trinex, if a Trinex is going to show up anywhere, this is one of the worst spots for it to be. So rooting for the runners to not run into here. Then again, the Meyer Trinex isn't great either. He isn't blind. This is one of, I think, the easier areas for blind because you can still get behind him.
Yeah, big room.
Yeah, Trinex is a big boy. He needs a big room.
You don't really think about how small your 1x1 is in Thieves Town until you come here. Blind just looks so small.
Yeah, you don't realize when you're just playing this vanilla, because it's all about that perspective. Trinex is so big, you come into this room, it doesn't look any bigger than a normal room. But then, if you think about it, it's a lot bigger than most rooms. The Ganon room is bigger, but it's bigger than basically every other single room.
Yeah, and so we know we have to do blind next. I'm trying here.
Also, that was a second blind, so that's one duplicate out of the way.
Yeah, and speaking of duplicates, that's a sword too. So once Iceman sees that sword, he's gonna realize that any advantage he has is probably gone.
Oh, did TDG not check? He didn't check. He might have thought he was in go mode and skipped Mimic Cave.
Maybe.
Because we don't know. It's Bombos. We'll get to check checkerboard here. That's a new check for us.
So TDG did not know. He hasn't been down here.
No, he got the mitts and went right over to Ice Palace, and then got right up to Turtle Rock.
Well.
And so like late mirror for a single item like Bombos, that is one of my least favorite scenarios for this, because like the checks the mirror opens are pretty far apart. Like you've got this check here, you've got K45 and Bombos Tablet and Swamp Palace, which are kind of close. And then you've got all those North Dark World checks like King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge, though luckily they were already able to do King's Tomb this seed. But it's kind of annoying because they're so scattered out, and your opponent could have just as easily picked a different one than you did. So we'll see who manages to pick the right one, if it is the mirror that's the answer. It could still just be backup pod, though.
Yeah, this is one of these, if you feel like you're ahead, you're going to do the dense stuff first, even if it is Swamp Palace, which is, well, it's Swamp Palace. If you don't, you might try and pick out some oddballs and hope to get lucky.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because Swamp and Pod are around the same amount of items. I think they're the same amount of items when you consider that Pod is the green pendant, and they've taken one item out of Swamp. I mean, maybe the Swamp has one more after all that, but they both didn't want to do Pod, and now they're going to have to choose between Pod or Swamp.
Yeah, well, you go to Pod at this point, you have to finish it at least till you find your item, and that requires, that big trip down to the basement, so... Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. I think after you decide to leave Pod like these runners do, then you probably are not going to want to go back.
So everybody doing the retread thing for the next few minutes. I don't know, what games do we play here? Do we play games? Where's it going to be? We already did that kind of.
Yeah, definitely shout out to our runners TDG and Iceman, and shout out to the Go Mode podcast channel for putting on this restream for these guys. I know it's definitely great to show more games, especially in the Challenge Cup. Sometimes they're just good. They're really good Challenge Cup matches sometimes that just don't get shown because they're the main tour is going on. There's a lot of group stage matches, so it's great to highlight these runners.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're more likely here to see some divergence. It seems like the higher up you go, the more things become prescribed. So these can be some good watchers. But yeah, Rades on tracking and Lumaga for putting this thing on at all. Thank you very much to both of them.
All right, so TDG gonna go over and check Bombo's tablet here. This is probably into Swamp too. We'll see if he does K45 as well before.
So there's your Mimic Cave. Will not burn TDG unless it sticks in his head. It's just a heart piece.
We also have that powder that they both got to check. I guess Iceman hasn't gotten it yet because it's on Laser Bridge, but that's another thing that's really annoying to check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in a sea like this, that's outstanding for everybody because you could not scum your mushroom in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. You had, the hay could have, I think, if you really wanted to, because the Canis Amari was in the light world and the hammer was too.
Yeah.
But there's no way anyone did. The sequence of events that you'd have to go over there as a one-off, there's no way anyone would do it.
I mean, it's a good point to point that out because,
I mean, if you had a spoiler log and you knew that it was something good, then maybe. But without that, no way. So I think TDG, let's see where he's going. Maybe he is going to that powder. Or no, he's going to do the Smith chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more attractive with the mirror, but again, nothing doing. Forgot he already did game. This stage, that can happen for sure.
Yeah, I guess TDG does not want to go into Swamp Palace. Can't really blame him. It is pretty dense, but it's a matter of preference at this point. I would lean towards Swamp Palace just because it's more likely that my opponent would have done this earlier, and they may have gotten go mode earlier if it was here. But it's always you make your own decisions based off how you're feeling in the race.
Yeah, it's a tough call. And, I I've lost my fair share of placement by not doing Swamp Palace, but that's with 6 items most of the time. Even with 8, I'm still thinking to myself, it just takes a while. And then if you're still wrong, then well, you're not getting the time back.
And we still don't know who's in there. It might only be 7 items if there's a Trinex in there.
Yeah. Over Swamp is a new TR, and TR's left side bridge, not bridge, but, so I don't know, there's some questions over here.
And we will see that magic bat check. So I guess, it's not a very orphan check for TDG, having not done Split the Chain yet. So if this is something good, it's going to be really good for TDG, because Iceman will probably not want to come back here just for powder anytime soon. And just bombs.
First with your go mode item minus the letter O.
Yeah. Booms.
Right. That's the B, but yeah, same idea. Okay. Big Bird's on his way. Don't worry, we'll get it figured out. Anyway,
let's see what's
TR.
Where Iceman's gonna decide to go out of TR now. You can mirror there. Okay, nice. I never mirror right in that exact spot.
Yeah, you know what? Everything's fun and games until you do it on the Harris steps or the GT steps.
Yeah, that's one of the most annoying things. Why aren't the staircases lined up?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I did that once or twice, and I decided to quit learning all the rest of them because I'm nope.
Yeah, if you're going to Thieves. Oh, Iceman's gonna get his flippers.
Huh? Yeah, I mean you gotta check this.
I forgot that Iceman didn't even have the option to do Swamp. Man, this is good timing. I mean, it's good timing if there is something in Swamp. It's terrible timing if Swamp is total bait.
Well, think about it, I guess. It's funny because, this is going to send him there just the same as, having the mirror. So.
Yeah. And so this race is pretty interesting to me right now, because I wouldn't be surprised if both of these runners converge on Swamp Palace around the same time, and then if the item is in there, it's going to be close. And then if it's in pod, though, it's looking probably better for TDG because he's just got more checked right now. Because I don't think either of these... I think both of these runners are going to last locate pod if it's in there.
Sometimes weird with the psychological stuff. Yeah, he's going to do in front of escape now, but I'm sure we'll finish this up. But when you get your 2 out of your 3 Swamp Palace package in short succession, and the other runner doesn't, the other runner is avoiding doing it because it just doesn't look as attractive to them. And all this depends on where Bombus actually is. It could be just dictated by who did Dark Cross when you break it down enough.
Yeah, really, because it's TDG really doesn't want to go into Swamp Palace right now. Whereas Iceman might think it's a better option because those flippers fresh in his mind. Yeah, so Josh, the thing about the pod is both of the runners already went to pod, got the mitts, and then immediately left. So I think if they hadn't done that, then yeah, you probably go to pod first. But both these runners already decided to not do pod. So I would not be surprised if they just double down on that decision.
So here's TDG, going to beat Iceman to Swamp, but no, not yet.
Yeah, he still got that big bomb. Absolutely does not want to do Swamp Palace. These runners are big believers in the pendant bad belief. They are not a fan of the pendant dungeons.
Well, you got to think about it too. I mean, there's this. I know it's rando, right? But there's this thing that you have in your head. It's like, well, we already needed 2 pendant dungeons. We did, right? We can't possibly need a 3rd one, right?
That's true.
I mean, we've all seen it. That both these runners have seen it happen enough, but you just really don't want to see it.
And I guess Iceman does want to check that powder, which, I mean, there's definitely a reason to, because, you just got the powder, and it's not that bad with the flute to check, actually, so definitely makes sense.
Yeah, going through TR to get it, might as well,
But we'll see. If Iceman goes to Swamp right now, then I think both of these guys will be in Swamp at like the same time.
Yeah, we're gonna have a race for real.
But it does. Iceman might. I think if Iceman goes to Swamp, he might want to do like the nearby mirror checks first. But we'll see. Because I mean, personally, doing Bombos as a like last ditch effort before Swamp it's always my favorite. Like, please keep me out of Swamp Palace, and then just go in.
Hey, now hold the phone here.
He's going to checkerboard.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm like, what to do? Did I miss Bombos or something? Oh yeah.
Okay, TDG double checking that floating island. I know he did check that earlier.
Sometimes you're just not sure, and then more bombs.
Really wants to stay out of Swamp, and that's in fairness. Flippers plus mirror, that's another spot that gets opened by those two items.
This is like poker.
Yeah, that's a good point in chat, Rades. I do not know if Iceman checked it, but I know TDG definitely did when he went on to the Man Under the Bridge. All right, we're seeing Swamp Palace from TDG. Are we going to see it from Iceman? Is he going to go to like Bombos and Bombos Tablet and the K45 first? We'll see.
Yeah, Iceman, I'm like, come on, let's go, let's do the thing, but no, we've still got a couple more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with doing. Oh, yeah. If you get like late mirror like this, I always will do these two flanking mirror checks before going into Swamp, because okay, if you get the item here, then you're good. If your opponent also got the item there, you're safe. If you just do these two extra checks and it's in Swamp, you're less likely to lose the race. Whereas if it's in either of these two spots and you go in full clear Swamp, you're just done.
Yeah, but I think the divergence has ended. It's going to be swamping and pod for everybody until that thing shows up. So.
Yeah, Iceman, I think he's got like Graveyard Ledge that he could go to, but I don't think he'll be incentivized to go there. For TDG, he had not done the King's Tomb either. Oh, and he had Smith Chain, so he was up in that area. Whereas Iceman should be good to just leave behind Graveyard Ledge. But it doesn't even have to be in Swamp. It could still be Pod. There's still a lot of items in Pod.
I'm just looking for a situation where Iceman can pull ahead and maybe, I don't know. You probably don't skip left side now, do you? Probably not.
Yeah, it really depends. Because like in Map Compass Shuffle, you know it's two items. The back is more dense, for sure. I don't generally skip it in this situation where I know I don't have to beat the boss, but there's definitely arguments to do it. It's kind of like you get all the checks cleared out faster if you do left side first, or you don't just find Bombos there and you don't need to do anything.
That's it. So go mode it. Interesting time of 1:31.
No, maybe a go mode. We've still got, there's a 3-headed turtle out there who's got a few words to say about whether or not the seed is actually in go mode yet.
Yeah.
We'll see if...
I've been meaning to do overrides on my track ride run where I can have a yellow button for go mode, because that's what this is.
This is the big yellow, because we have not found a Trinex in any of the dungeons. I don't know, they don't have the Swamp Compass, but we know that Desert Palace is not cleared. That is Argus. Pod, they don't know what's in Pod either. So, and there also could be 2 Trinexes. So the actual calculation is going to be tough. He could just be living in the basement and we can find the GT Big Key before having to fight him. But he could be in that climb or in the back of Mire.
Yeah, well, you'd hate to see an ice rod in Mire, wouldn't you, huh? Comms.
Oh, and TDG, I think he should definitely check his compass here, because if it's Trinex, you're going to want to do some of the bosses. Or do some of the chests to try to find the ice rod. But if it's not, you just go to the boss.
Yeah, I want to say ideally you find a big key and then check it. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's another good. You have to find the big key anyway. So yeah, that's a perfectly logical way to approach it. But like if I find the big key, then you want a Godmire even more. Maybe you'll get baited into it. And yeah, Crowbell pointing out in chat, I didn't know if that was too spicy to share, but yeah, there is a bias for Trinex to be at Armos, at Ice Armos versus in the climb. But there could also be two Trinexes. And I've seen seeds where there's a Trinex there and then the Trinex in the climb. And it is funny.
So I don't think TDG did the compass loop there in Swamp, so I mean I could be wrong, but you know, doing that before the big key you already had, that's a choice. But nonetheless, Bombos in hand, off to Meyer for Iceman.
Yep, and we've seen Iceman do the compass. Not all runners are familiar with the compass change is relatively new. It's like the past year or so, I believe, maybe year or 2 years, somewhere in that range. It's not a very, it's around the same time that they had the C and the P in the top left corner, so it's pretty new. So not all runners are used to it.
I'm at the location there in Swamp of the compass vanilla. You know. Trying to remember if TDG did that check. That's all.
Yeah, I've not seen TDG check the compass here. But Iceman has done it before. We'll see if he might not be thinking about Trinex anyway. TDG is going to go for this rail clip. It's definitely cool if you can get it. It's not easy, so very good. You have to. That's one of the clips you have to be pretty confident about because it doesn't save time if you do it like third try. And there's another small key. Oh, baby, it's a Trinex in here. So TDG will be in for a rude surprise. Iceman going to have the nice little bit of knowledge here that you get to leave if you don't find the Ice Rod in here. So, how's Backup Pod sounding this time of year, Scoopula?
No, sir, I didn't like it.
You know, this is gonna be so rude because it seems like basically no matter what, these runners are gonna have to. They already went into a dungeon and left early, and they're gonna have to go back in there to try to find the Ice Rod.
I mean, honestly, I was expecting them to have to go back a lot sooner, but
yeah. And like, there's no like, I think anyone is gonna leave after that Bombos. Maybe you do Compass Chest, I don't know, but. I think anyone's leaving after that Bombos and Swamp, so no surprise to see them do it.
Yeah, it's like the other thing we mentioned. It's real hard to justify spending time that you could find out later is totally optional, and boy, you're gonna hate yourself then. So.
And just with the way this seed goes, especially with that particular Bombos, there is almost no way that an opponent is going to have anything other than Bombos Medallion fake go mode. Because like that mirror was in Turtle Rock, so you need to already have the hook shot and the Cane of Samaria and the mitts and the hammer and the Ether Medallion and the bow and all that stuff, the fire rod to get there. So by the time you make the decision to go to Swamp Palace, you already have everything. So there's no way you're worried your opponent like, oh, they got that Bombos at 20 minutes in and didn't go mode Swamp. No, everyone that went to the Swamp's going to be leaving.
Yeah, the big key and cutscene, so that's got to get done. At least that way, everybody's got to do it. Could be worse.
Yeah, but this will be really interesting because these runners are going to be basically tied because TDG is going to get all the way to Trinex and then see that there is nothing good. Oh, and this is the nice layout of Meyer where you know that the big key is vanilla. Because if there's a key in that chest, then there's a big key in the vanilla.
Yeah, I was watching for TDG to do the compass check, or the map check with the compass after the big key, and I took my eye off. But yeah, I guess still didn't do it. So yeah, that's feels bad. I mean, I know I'd be doing it all the time. If this comes up tomorrow, I'm gonna forget all this stuff.
Yeah, an interesting thing about the keys in Meyer, so it goes both ways. If you find a small key in the cutscene chest, there's a big key in the the compass chest, but that doesn't help because you never do the cutscene first.
Yeah, write that time down for TDG. Hate to say it. Gonna go back in and see. Well maybe he's like,
No, I think he did I think he got the other item, or I guess the other two items would be, or sorry, other three items, because there's two plus the map compass shuffle.
Yeah.
And let's see, so this is big there. Which of this dungeon is TDG going to decide to go into? I think Pod is the choice because it's quicker and it's green pendant. There's more items. But Iceman could easily make a different one. Because if you really want to lean into your, I think Pod on the density and speed, it's definitely the more correct decision. But if you're metagaming, be like, I already skipped Pod, whereas everyone is going to skip that swamp. So, yeah, it might be good. And there's the ice rod. It was in my ear big the whole
That's
time.
what I was thinking. I'm like, I wasn't counting, as I know it's just hard to do on here, but I'm like, that's what TDG wanted to do. He wanted to go back. I think for a second and thought about it. Oh no.
That's crazy. So this is all just coming down to a compass check, this whole race. Because yeah, it doesn't matter, like even if he gets back here quick, that's such a big lead.
Yeah, I don't, he takes the extra trip to Meyer, or to the basement here with not Viddy, because of the compass check. It would have been a race, but now, I hate to say it, I don't see TDG coming back.
No, it would be very difficult, because like now we don't even have, like there can be another Trinex on the way, but now Iceman's got the ice, but he's not going to worry about finding that. And they even have Gold Sword, because like if Ice Trinex is never easy. So you can sometimes have like 8 deaths on Ice Trinex or something. If especially, I've had a mystery scene where you get hard item pull with Ice Trinex, and that's impossible. But yeah, you can. This one you have Gold Sword. They'll be able to get to finish even an Ice Trinex that shows up. But I think this is just kind of showcasing like this tournament format. It has a lot of modes that runners might not be as familiar with playing, so it can be really nice to learn how inverted works a little better, and learn how these map and compass, learn the little quirks about it. And that's what the good thing to do in the group stages here.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I mean, I'm going to totally advocate both sides. We were in just the one mode in the qualifiers right now. I think you have to do that. Like, I would have liked to seen a mix in there, but I think you have to do that because if you mix modes in there and you start cherry picking. Yeah,
absolutely. You would have people metagaming too much, I think.
Leaving with 5 minutes to go and stuff like that. So,
and also it's like a mode like Inverted Key Sanity or this mode are pretty volatile. So if you had a qualifier, you could have someone get wrecked because your opponent just does a very, very good route and saves 40 minutes. And if 100 racers, someone's going to do it. So I definitely understand why you do it just for hard open balls.
Yeah, so for those of us on the outside, as Iceman deals with Trinex loading up on...
Yeah, and that's going to be our last crystal, so we can get a nice little big key guessing game going on.
Mm-hmm.
What number do you want to guess, Scoopula?
Oh, I've had enough of this 3.
I want to know who's living on the ice floor, so let's go with 18.
All right. No, I mean, I say I have enough of this. This has been interesting. I mean, for us at least, that ice rod is going to hurt so bad.
Yeah, that's the same energy as ice rod on Laser Bridge right there. Like first Trinex of the seed, you're in ice rod go mode, and it's just in the same dungeon.
Just having Animizer extend your go mode that you are already on a hunt for.
I think that ice rod being there just makes me think that Trinex gets to personally hide the ice rod, and that's why it's on Laser Bridge a lot. He's just kind of lazy.
Well, yeah, it's like Turtle Rock, I guess, just moved today, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, nothing of note turning up in...
Yeah, skipping pod was the answer.
Remainder of pod, I mean, the best thing you could find is... Silvers, and that's not going to do it, so...
No, it's not. You're not going to save that much time on silver arrows in here.
I mean, there'll be a moment if you see him that feels pretty good, but at this point, you're probably just here in front of somebody's face in GT.
Well, we'll get to see who's at pod. TDG does have the compass, so we could check it. We'll see if there's another Trinex here. We'll know who's not going to be in certain places. Because we've only seen the blind. Blind has been duplicated once. We have not seen Vitreous Argus we have not seen, but we know he's in desert. And I believe that we haven't seen a cold stare either. So it's incredibly, there has to be a cold stare and a Vitreous in this GT. Or not, and I guess there has to be both. There has to be at least one of them, because one of them could be in pod.
And I guess it's also with the shovel, all 3 bosses in here can be the singles, so yeah, a good chance you just don't see a handful.
Yeah, so if I was gonna bet, I would say we're gonna see Vitreous in the Moldorm 2 spot, and then it's really all bets are off about what's in pod. But I think Vitreous in Moldorm 2 spot, and then it's because he can be placed there and not many of the other things can. And then there's always the bias for as Krubbo mentioned earlier in chat. There's a bias towards certain bosses in the basement. So I would be surprised if we see Argus or something down there, or Vitreous. Vitreous on the ice floor would be very surprising. Even though we haven't seen a Vitreous, so mathematically it should be a Vitreous pretty likely down there, but probably not.
I'm just having a moment right now. You said that, I'm like, I think I'd rather have Trinex down there. Vitreous on ice? I don't.
Well, there's a Vitreous in pod, so there doesn't have to be a Vitreous in the climb anymore. And Vitreous, pretty nice with his gold sword, so very nice there. Okay. Vitreous also takes spike damage, so even if you didn't have the gold sword in here, it would actually make it a lot easier. The big eye at least takes spike damage.
You know, if only you could teach an old bug new tricks. That's Moth.
Yeah, if only Moth. Moth. I think they immediately figured out that Moth taking spike damage would make that fight way too easy. See, I think they should have just made Moth take fighter sword damage from spikes. I think that would have made the fight better. Because Moth having he can hit him so many times and just not take damage. I was so mad when I was a kid fighting Moth. I'm like, how does this little bug have so much health?
Yeah, I mean, if they could get it to where you can not have the spikes negate the damage you're doing. Look, there's silvers, so this is going to be microwave bacon. But I think that's probably in-grain mechanics, same way that you can hit an enemy for the last time off a cliff and it doesn't poof, it just falls off. It doesn't actually take the damage till it's done moving.
Alright, let's see. This is probably swamped by TDG. So, I mean, he's only got Swamp and then Meyer left, so
yeah,
makes sense to go here. Once you decide to not do Meyer, you gotta commit to it.
Yeah, it's one check. It's last. That's unfortunate.
Oh, I'm not gonna get to see who's in the basement. So close.
Oh, is it right there? Oh, geez.
It was in Bob's chest. I was hoping he'd forget and fall down so I could at least get my curiosity settled to see who was down there. But okay, we still have hope to know who's down there. All we need is no cold stairs in the climb, and then we know cold stairs down there.
Wait, now here's a question. Compass for GT.
It says Aga 2.
Doesn't show you the other floors or anything?
No.
Oh, that would be so cool. Oh well.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could see, because then you'd know you're not, especially with ice. The Trinex in the climb spot is not uncommon. So,
Krubbo in chat there was in Bob's chest, so I missed the ice room.
Yeah, our tracker doing good job keeping track of the count as well. Very nice.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We weren't doing it. 13. Who picked Lucky today? We got, those Rades.
Nice. The tracker getting it is always fitting.
Rule 2.
The commentator's getting it is not cool. That's like your commentator cursing yourself to win the big guessing game. That's too far.
Say Part A, good job. Part B, employees, affiliates, and family members of Go Mode Podcast are not eligible to today.
Oh no. The Iceman showing off the just spam bombos portion of the climb. No, with a quick swap, you should use Ether in the skeleton. So these guys will freeze to Ether, so you don't want to do it on them. So honestly, I'm thinking like we both were relying on Rades to give us the number for the big key, so he could have made it up. I don't know. All right, let's see who. It's not Trinex because this room would be all messed up if Trinex was here. Oh, Armos, we hadn't seen them either.
Mm-hmm. Just land mode, but bigger.
Big Lambo.
Can't dig. Silver arrow stress still riding.
So I think there's this guy. We've seen all the bosses now, so this is going to be a duplicate, and then whoever's in. No, we haven't seen Cold Stare yet. So I'm trying to think which 2 duplicates have we seen. 'Cause maybe I'm miscounting.
Well, I know there's no cold, and that's.
We haven't seen Cold Stare. We saw 2 blinds.
Yeah, money's on cold on this one because that's a rather common one for Molding.
But I mean, Cold Stare on the ice floor is pretty common in terms of making sense. Like,
yeah,
it's made of ice and the floor is also ice. Like, I feel like that should be common.
it should be. It's somehow not as common as Cold Stare in any mode dropping a fire rod or a lamp.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because like, how is he still frozen with the fire rod? I mean, but the fire rod itself isn't hot though. It just shoots fire, and like if Cold Stare isn't trying, it's probably not too hot.
It works just fine until Elsa dies.
We got TDG also still in Swamp. And then there is another Viddy in here. So Viddy waited a long time to show up, but there is 2 Viddies today. So I don't know, maybe I am missing something, but that should mean Cold Stare is in the basement. And then our I don't remember who our 3rd duplicate was here today. I'm just blanking on it. So we had Eastern Palace, had Blind. Desert Palace has Argus. Tower of Hera has Helma. Palace of Darkness has Viddy. Swamp Palace has... Oh, that's why. We don't know who's in Swamp Palace. It could be Cold Stare.
Oh yeah, we didn't go there.
That's mystery solved.
Kind of.
Yeah, we have Blind and Vitreous as guaranteed duplicates, and then it's honestly much more likely Cold Stare is in here, based off what Krubble has been saying with the Ice Armor spot being very unlikely to have cold. Nope, so Cold Stare is in the basement, and Moth is a repeat. And meanwhile, Iceman onto Aga. Gonna have a quick geometry lesson before taking down the pig. Nice triple there.
Looking for bombos, finding bombs. Looking for ice rod after bombos. Guess what? Some more bombs.
Yep. So definitely not feeling good if you're TDG here, knowing that you cleared out 2 dungeons. You know, I mean, the dun's not come up yet, so you know you're still in it, but you have to think, okay, unless my opponent did the exact same thing I did here with both these dungeons, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I was gonna spare everybody, and just not wonder if TDG was gonna get the Iceman or the Ice Rod before Iceman actually finished. So you can see it's gonna be close.
Looks like he's gonna beat the boss of Desert first, and I agree with this because it's like you gotta keep. You didn't do it in Mire, you're not gonna get it. They also might have miscounted in Mire, so. But if you already skipped out on something, it's generally better to commit to it. As long as, like, sometimes it's easy to get back to your skips and they're not bad, and you can kind of like hedge a bit. But if you like consciously left out of something, you shouldn't go back there super quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Resolve is a good property to have most of the time. I don't. I mean, if I start messing up a little, I definitely change everything. I'm playing different numbers.
And just to bring your attention back to Iceman, he has gotten quickly through the first 2 phases of Ganon, that gold sword, doing a nice job getting through the first 2 phases. Also, those silver arrows found in GT should make this fight nice and quick. From here, though, Ganon does not want to stop warping. That was a lot of warps there, Ganon.
Pig knows he's dead to rights, and well, I'm just gonna drag this out.
Yeah, gets a nice pattern for a quick double, and then maybe he gets another double here. We'll see.
Yeah, the menu preserved that, so here it is. GG's.
Yeah.
Put him in there for Iceman F1. Put in a time of about 1:53.17 or so. 23 in the race time room.
Yep. So Iceman getting the win today. Very nice. Getting through this bit of a winding seed, I would say.
And just
getting his keep his pod and his Swamp Palace skips. So that's always big when you get to do the two pretty big skips like that and get to commit to them like that.
Yeah, real quick finish of Argus over there in Desert Palace. No satisfaction, so dot in, no surprise. TDG knows exactly where that ice road is. I'm just going to go ahead and throw the towel in here. See if we can have a chat with him here.
And we're joined by both Iceman and TDG, so good games to both of you guys. Thanks for coming in for an interview.
Thanks for having.
GG's.
GG's.
So any first thoughts on the siege that you'd like to share with us?
No.
I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can understand that, TDG.
I mean, like, as a seed overall, I don't think it was that bad. Like, except for my death in Hera, but that was just, like, low percent for me. I didn't mind all the bosses. The boss locations weren't that bad. So, like, as a seed overall, I thought it was pretty good, but...
I'm sorry. Mirror on Lava Bridge.
Yeah.
To Pendant Swamp for Bombos for like, that's not a bad seed? Question mark?
I'm considering like that logic chain was not great, but on the other hand, like I'm thinking the bosses could have been much worse early on and locked us out of content. The fact that the seed kept moving, at least for me, I've had worse seeds than this. That one logic chain wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Iceman. The seed was relatively kind with regards to the bosses you had to do. Helma and Hera with Fighter Sword is not great, but even that you guys had a decent amount of armor and hearts for. And then otherwise, like you within 6 minutes of this game, you could have beaten every boss but Trinex.
Yeah, like
yeah, that's true.
For a boss shuffle, that's not that bad, and that's how I look at the things like this. Like stupid logic chain like that, Mirror to get Bombos to get Ice Rod and Meyer, like, yeah, that's annoying, but like all seeds have one of those kinds of... I don't really consider, like, now if it was like had to do Pedestal and Aga and like all this other stuff, okay, yeah, it'd be a horrible seed, but overall it wasn't too bad, to me at least.
Well, you can call it curses if you like, but I was saying about there's probably a mirror in TR because it's like you said, there's going to be something. Now, the rest of that I didn't see coming with the Trinex there at the tail end of things. Just like, hello.
I kind of had a suspicion we would have a Trinex. So even though I was Bombos to get into Meyer for potential go mode, I'm thinking to myself, I need an Ice Rod. I'm going to see a Trinex based on the bosses I had encountered at that point. So when I got into Meyer and saw the Trinex on the compass, with the compass view, I'm like, okay, I'll dig Meyer, and if it's not here, then I'll double dip one of my dungeons I had bailed on early. I just got lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I have to ask you, TG, did when you left Meyer, you kind of went back in the door? Was it a counting thing, or just I don't want to do that?
It was oh man, I have the big chest. And I just thought I had most of Pod and most of Swamp left. And I just thought the odds of Ice Rod being in that big chest, I just gambled it wasn't there. And as it was, I thought I was behind because I assumed after noping at a Pod, if my opponent like cleared Pod, even except for the boss and Ice Rod's in there, I'm behind. I didn't assume my opponent would nope out after getting the mitts, so I assumed I had to go back to Pod for the Ice Rod, and when it was a big no, I felt awful. Then I knew I was toast.
Yeah, if you look at back, to be honest, it broke my heart. It did, because everything is always in the dense place right until you quit looking at the dense place. It seems like, no matter who you are. But yeah, you had a slight lead at that point, so it could have been execution, it could have been GT big, but rando sometimes.
Yep. Rando gonna rando.
But yeah, I think you both did go to pod in the early game, and both did leave after the minutes, so that was even on that.
Yeah, something interesting about this seed is that if you don't do that fake flipper to the glove and you just forget about Dark Cross, like you guys were both down to basically only Dark Cross unchecked. Were you guys keeping that like in the back of your mind, like, hey, we're still out of logic with this glove?
I 100% was, yeah.
As soon as I got the glove, I thought, okay, there are basically only two items that are going to be in Dark Cross. It's either going to be the lamp, and it's going to be an Aga seed, or it was the flippers, and it turned out to be the flippers.
Dane had a theory over here. It might have been, some minor chain extension, extra spear type thing, I think. Isn't that what you're saying? But
well, no, it was just that they had literally nothing left in logic. So there had to be something in there, and then, like, it could have been something silly like a mushroom, but they already turned that in, or a powder, but it was most likely going to be either the lamp for Aga, like he said, or the flippers for that glove. Or it could have been the other glove as well, and the flippers could have been somewhere else, but it just felt more like it was going to be lamp or flippers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was playing in my mind for basically until I got the flippers. And when the reason I went to get them then was I'm like, okay, I want to get back into logic, see, just to verify, yes, it was flippers. And then I'm like, okay, this will eventually probably get me swamp that might be needed. So that's why I bit the bullet. But thankfully I did it when I had mirror, boots, lamp, and I could just basically run through instead of having to try to dark room it.
Well, that was very good. I don't know, you guys rooting for any particular mode next time you have to play in this tournament?
As long as it's not tournament hard, I'm okay with anything.
I would love a tournament hard. I just don't want inverted. No inverteds.
My first two races were tournament hard. I do not want any more of them.
You don't want any more heart pieces?
I don't mind the heart pieces. What I hate is the having to have low percent for me low percent Gen, like I am not good with green mail Gen, and I am not good with like only having one bottle, no half magic, no mail. Like to me, no, I do not enjoy that. Everything else inverted, no problem. I'll struggle through that, just not tournament hard.
All right, well, definitely good. Hopefully, you guys will fish your wishes. I think if you already played 2 tournament hards, Iceman, you're probably unlikely to draw it, but you never know.
That, but like I said, my first 2 matches, I had a 1 in 9 chance of
that's pretty crazy.
Hard, and I draw that 1 in 9 chance for my second match.
Well, definitely good luck to both of you guys going forward in the rest of the Challenge Cup. Anything you want to say before we close out the stream?
I think I'm good.
Nope. Thanks for Restream. Thanks for commentating. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, GG's for both of you. Did real well considering what this thing threw at you. I mean, no key shuffle, and still took a while. And despite that, just was it kept you engaged. There's kind of things going on. There's just all kind of stuff going on in the seed. So, good for us. I mean, I don't know how you probably didn't feel the best about a lot of that stuff, but it was a good race. So thank you very much.
Yep, GG again.
GG.
Well, Dane, anything you know about for the future as far as the Goma podcast is concerned? I don't have a lot of that in front of me. The tournament itself.
I think we're still live.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk about the. I know we're live.